Mirko Ilić and I did a book called Anatomy of Design. An Anatomy of Design was the idea that there are no new ideas. Everything comes from something else. Of course, there had to be an Adam and Eve. We're still not sure which came first, Adam or Eve. But what we tried to do in Anatomy of Design was look at design. In a way, they were kind of random from within the last 5 years. And we then took those pieces of design and unpacked them, found their anatomy, found all the parts that went into them. And the book takes 3 to 4 different influences for each, different topic influences or thematic influences for each item that we show. And it breaks it down and then shows how that particular theme has been used in design for the last 200 years. So what this talk is, shows some of those areas, some of those thematic areas that have been used over and over again in graphic design. One of them is Saint Sebastian, the martyr. And the most famous work to reuse the Saint Sebastian idea is George Lois's cover of Esquire. This was actually an amazing cover. This is Muhammad Ali, who had just been relieved of his championship title as a boxer because he opposed the Vietnam War. And George Lois brought him into the photo studio to say, look, we're going to show the world that you're a martyr for your cause. Well, Muhammad Ali is a Muslim. Saint Sebastian is a Christian. In order to do this photo shoot, George Lois had to get permission from the leader of the black Muslims in America. Because Muhammad Ali said, I can't do this, it's against my religion. He was given the free rein to do it. It became one of the most classic covers ever done. But it's not the only time Saint Sebastian's been used. Mirko, why don't you get up here? Right here, next to me. Mirko tirelessly, from his perch, sought out all the influences. He sought out more influences than you could ever imagine. I mean, he looked under rocks, he looked under stones, he looked in my drawer, he looked in other people's drawers. And so, this is what he found. Found that Saint Sebastian was used in advertising, used for cigarettes, used in this X-ray. So the idea is that these images become a kind of universal language, and the universal language is applied in many ways. You could call it influence, you could call it plagiarism, you could call it reinventing something that's old. So once you saw the X-ray picture, we went to X-rays and found that, lo and behold, the X-ray was being used in an advertising campaign, taking apart famous paintings. Really clever idea. But of course, the X-ray was introduced to graphic design much earlier by John Hartfield in the 1930s.
That's the first time they used X-ray in graphic design.
And then more recently, another ad campaign. And this is New York Magazine, the magazine that Milton Glejzer had founded, on doctors. The X-ray is appropriately used there. We went from X-ray to skulls. This is a wonderful, faux, illusionary skull. But Mirko realized that he had seen this before and found the original source. This is a more recent ad, or actually a 19th century illusion. There were many illusionary postcards that were published in the 19th century. And this is a contemporary ad for that. And then we went to the two heads. I'm going to pass this on to Mirko because he knows two heads very well.
I don't know your lecture.
Just talk.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Janus, and this is a beautiful portrait of Mussolini, done in a time of futurists in Italy trying to show speed and beauty. And this is Pet Shop Boys. Here is a question only of beauty, there is no speed. And then this is Karim Rashid, new dictator of industrial design.
Mirko knows a lot about open mouths.
With friends like this who need enemies.
It starts with the Dada. This way Mirko can chime in whenever he wants. It starts with the Dada, Raoul Hausmann. But we found that open mouths, they make for a great picture, a startling one, a mnemonic, something you'll never forget, except you'll always forget it because it was used so many times. A mouth within a mouth within a mouth, within a mouth within a mouth within a mouth. Also the trompe-l'oeil, the playing with the eye, the fake illusion on canvas was used quite a bit. And in many cases it's used with the hands holding a book, being photographed, so it's the illusion of holding.
Samples, we have at least 50 more, but we don't want to kill you.
Torn posters. This is just to show you that any great idea you have, and you're so happy with yourself for coming up with the idea, it's probably been done before. So it's better to go into engineering. Body type. This is something that has been used since the first tattoo was ever applied to the human form. But it's a really great way of getting two things together on a printed page. Sex and type. Stefan Sagmeister did the most painful of the body types. He actually cut that into his body and allowed the scabs to form type. He does have a couple of typos, however. And Lou Reed, who was one of his clients, declined to have his face carved with a razor blade for obvious reasons, so instead he just painted over the photograph.
Maria Brown.
Some are really quite elaborate. This one was an interesting one. I don't know how many of you know the Dixie Chicks here, but they were a country western group that crossed over into pop music. And during a tour in Europe, at the outset of the Iraq War, they protested against George Bush. And so all of their audience, all of their constituents in the South started burning their records and boycotting their concerts. So they agreed to have their bodies branded for Entertainment Weekly. And this is body type 2. This is type that creates the human or the animal form, and this is quite common as well. This one is probably the most difficult to have accomplished, but thank heavens for the computer.